Hey guys, it's Sebastian from AskSebby, and today we are going to look at the $1,200 stimulus payments and also pretty much every other question that you had related to this. One big favor before we dive in is to give this a thumbs up. It doesn't cost you anything at all, and it's a very easy way to support the channel and helps with that YouTube algorithm. In this video, we'll talk about the basics, a bunch of different rules that you need to be aware of that affects how much you're likely to get or whether you're getting anything at all. And then we'll talk about some ways that you might want to consider using this, especially if you are someone with a rainy day fund and you're looking to invest this or put this into a high yield accounts. One final thing too, if you are someone new here, is if you want to learn more about how to get value from financial products such as bank accounts or credit cards, consider subscribing to the channel because that's what we're all about. Starting off with the basics, this is going to be based off your tax return for 2019. So if you are someone that has not filed the 2019 return for the 2019 year that you typically file on April of 2020, then they're going to look at your 2018 return. If you are someone that didn't file a tax return for 2018, let's say you were a student and you didn't make any income and you figured that it didn't really make sense, I would strongly recommend consider filing for 2019, even if it's a no return. So that's going to be a return that has no income, just to make yourself qualify for this. There are some other rules here that might affect you if your parents are using you on their tax return, but we'll talk about that in a second. This is going to apply if you have US citizenship or if you're considered a permanent resident, such as green card holders. Even if you are someone who's a digital nomad and you live in Bali or Koh Samui or something, you're still going to get this if you qualify based off the requirements, just because you are a citizen. And this does tie back into the taxes part. If you're someone who does not file their tax return, then my understanding is that they're not going to give you a payment because they're not going to be able to find you. The payment is going to be based off how you got a refund on your last tax return. So if it was a bank account last time or if it was a check last time, then they're going to look into that method. If you are someone that wants to change how you get it, you can contact the IRS and fill in the form, but my understanding is that it might take a bit of time and it might not be worth the efforts. And also what I'm saying is as of March 27th on Friday of 2020, so things can change pretty quickly. Starting off with people who are single, you're going to get $1,200 if you made less than $75,000. So even if you made $0, even if you are on some other welfare or something, you're still going to qualify for this. If you made more than $75,000, then for each additional $100 in income, you're going to lose $5 from that stimulus payment or check. So for example, if you end up making $76,000, then you're going to end up losing out on $50 of that $1,200. If this sounds a bit too confusing right now, don't worry too much. We'll do a calculator towards the middle of the video, so that might clear it up a lot more. One other reminder is that this is based off your AGI number, so I'd recommend looking into your tax returns to see what that number is to get a good estimate. For married couples, it's going to be $2,400 in total, and the threshold is going to be $150,000. Anything beyond that has the same fall off that we talked about for single people. If you are a head of household, then it's going to be the same $1,200, but you have a higher threshold for that drop off. So instead of $75,000, it's going to be $112,500. So you do have a bit more room for this just because you have dependents that are going to be reliant on you, and also just given how taxes work. One reminder though is that a lot of people don't seem to recognize or realize what head of household means. There's basically 3 tests for this. For head of household, you need to be unmarried, so that can be single, divorced, or legally separated on the last day of the tax year. Number 2 is that you paid for more than half of the cost of keeping up a house for the year. And number 3 is that a qualified person lived with you for more than half the year. A qualified person is generally a child or a relative that you can claim on your tax return as a dependent. Speaking of dependents, if you do have children that are 16 and under, then you can actually get an additional $500 per child, and there's no cap for this. If you don't care about how the calculation is made and you just want to figure out how much you're going to get, we ended up building a calculator that you can access using the blog post down below. We'll also answer some of the frequently asked questions there as well, so go check that out in case you are curious about anything. With that said, let's look into some edge cases. Side note, if you have not liked the video yet, give it a thumbs up. So the first edge case is you got married or something happened between 2018 return and 2019 return. In that case, if you haven't filed your 2019 return yet, I'd recommend seeing if it actually makes more sense to file for that change status. So an easy example of this is if you're someone who got married between your 2018 and your 2019 return, and it's more favorable where you end up getting more money, having been married in 2019, then it makes sense to file your return right away. This only really applies if you're someone who hasn't filed their 2019 return yet, and the best way to figure out whether this makes sense for you is to do kind of a pro-con list, a 2-column side. So what happens if you don't file? So 2018, what do you get? And then what happens if you do file, and which of the numbers are higher? Edge case number 2 is if you are someone that is not going to qualify for this, what is your benefit? What do you get out of this? You end up getting this kind of on your 2020 return, but you don't file that until 2021 in April. So you're kind of screwed, but at least they're helping you a bit. So in the short term, you don't really get anything. So that really sucks for you if you don't have that savings account with a substantial amount of money to get through this, but you do kind of get a bit of a benefit next year. Third edge case is what happens if you don't qualify based off your 2018 return, but you will qualify based off your 2019 return. In that case, file your 2019 right away just because you might as well get that money. So for example, if you made a lot of money in 2018 and then 2019 was a very slow year, then it makes sense to do this. One final edge case is going to be students, just because I do realize that there are quite a few students who watch me. And the thing here is you qualify if you are 17 and older to get your own $1,200 only if your parents are not claiming you as a dependent. I didn't run the numbers for this, but my feeling is if your parents make a lot of money, then it might make sense for them to have that deduction as a dependent because it might make more financial sense given their taxes. But for you as someone who's biased, it probably makes more sense for you to have that $1,200. I'd recommend talking to your parents to see what they're doing and also to crunch the numbers, spend 5 minutes doing that separation calculation to see what makes more sense. So what are the best ways to use this? I think it really does depend on how much money you have in your savings, just because I realize that there's a lot of people in the Dave Ramsey or Beat the Bush crowd who probably have 3 to maybe even 12 months of runway of savings because they expect bad things to happen. If you have that level of runway, we'll talk about a few options, but obviously if you don't, then spend that money on food, on rent, on anything that you need to survive. Walking through San Francisco, I see how many of the shops are closed and boarded up, and I realize that for a lot of people, we don't really know when this is going to end, and you want to make that money last as long as possible. If you have that runway, then either put it with the rest of the money that you have to make sure that you have more of it. The other alternative is to put it into bank accounts that either have high yield savings or into other brokerages that also do the same thing. So for example, for Varo, you're going to get 1.6% starting April 1st, 2020. If you're willing to do additional work such as direct deposits and doing transactions, then you can get 2.76. Depending on your situation, these requirements might not make any sense. If you're not working, then getting a direct deposit is going to be very annoying or hard. There's probably ways around this, but might not be worth the efforts. If you don't want it in your savings account, maybe you want it ready in a brokerage for investing purposes, then I'd recommend looking at Public, which offers 2.5% on your uninvested money. Big benefit here is 2.5% is higher than some of the other rates. There's not really any work in order to get that 2.5%, and also it's ready to be used. One of the most annoying things that I've noticed recently is that a lot of brokerages, it takes time to transfer money in, and the opportunity that you wanted to invest might be gone by that point. Side note, if you do want to try Public, we have a referral link down below. By using that link and loading up your account, you're going to end up getting a $10 slice in stock, such as Apple. Absolute worst case, you're getting a free $10 for trying this, and you're also getting that 2.5%. If you want to ratchet up the risk a little bit more and you're willing to lose that amount or to not have that amount right away, then I'd look into investing it into different companies just because there are going to be a lot of discounted stocks. My recommendation would be to look at what other smart people are doing. So a good example of this is going to be Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha, and he recently spent money investing in Delta. He basically bought a ton of Delta stock at about $42, and if you look right now at the aftermarket trading rate, it's about $28. So obviously stock prices can change quite a bit from right now to when you're going to get that amount and moving it into the brokerage, but I still feel like if you're buying it at a cheaper rate than Warren Buffett, assuming that you believe that Warren Buffett is smart and making good decisions, then that's a good move. You're basically hitching your wagon to one of the best investors in the world. Give or take, the stimulus check gets you about 40 shares. If you want to ratchet up the risk a little bit more, and if it's within your risk tolerance, then maybe you're looking at deep out of the money put options for June or something, just because there's higher upside. If you are someone looking to try options trading, then I'd recommend something like Webull. We do have a referral link down below for that as well. Benefit is that it's commission-free options and also commission-free equities trading, and also the fact that they're giving you 2 free stocks just to try their platform. I'm not sure about you guys, but it's Friday night. There's not really anything else to do given that we're staying at home right now. So getting paid 2 free stocks to try out a random thing is a pretty good deal. Animal Crossing or 2 free stocks, or maybe both. On that note, my question for you guys is, what are your thoughts on this? How are you going to use your $1,200 or $2,400 or maybe a bit less? What are your plans for it? Are you looking to just stay alive, which I think is a very fair and good use case? Are you looking to invest it? Let me in the community know in the comments down below. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. It really helps us out. If you know anyone else who'd benefit from what we just talked about, share this with them. It'll probably help them out. But otherwise, hope you guys liked it. See you guys next time.